The time is 8:45. Here's the news, edited by Dilini Gunawardana, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. A special Gazette notification is issued convening the Parliament on next Saturday. The President states that the country aims to restructure $17 billion debt in 5 years. The COPE Committee instructs a cooperation plan to be prepared for Lanka Southers Limited. The Sri Lanka Olympic Committee launches a reforestation program. Ceylon Electricity Board will launch the e-billing system from next month. Foreign news, Putin says Wagner Group was entirely supported by Russia. Sports news, tennis. The Women's Tennis Association commits to equal prize money at combined events by 2027. Local news in detail. Speaker Mahinda Abeyewardene has issued a special Gazette notification convening the Parliament at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, the 1st of July. Early on Sunday, the ruling party MPs had reportedly been notified to remain in Colombo by cancelling all other visits outside Colombo, including overseas travel, since the debt restructuring proposal is scheduled to be tabled in Parliament for adoption this week, as per the political sources. President Ranil Wickremesinghe revealed that the government anticipates the restructuring of $17 billion out of the total $41.5 billion of the country's foreign debts within a 5-year term. Accordingly, the head of the state emphasized that the country's local debt too should be restructured. He assured, however, that the restructuring of local debt will have no impact on the stability of the country's banking system, including any state or private bank under the supervision of the central bank. The President further noted that the local debt restructuring will not affect the deposits in the banking system and will not affect any interest on bank deposits that is currently being paid. He also emphasized that the member balance of any superannuation funds, including the Employees Provident Fund, Employees Trust Fund, and the rate of return of superannuation funds that have been paid in the past, will remain unaffected by the restructuring of the domestic debt. President Wickremesinghe made these remarks at the opening ceremony of the new building of the Gampaha District Secretariat, Laksiyana Mandira. Lanka Southers Limited was convened by the COPE Committee chaired by Professor Ranjit Bandara recently. The performance and the Auditor General's reports of the institution for the years 2019 and 2020 were inquired there. The chairman of the committee instructed the institution to prepare a cooperation plan for its performance within 2 months. The committee attended to the difficulty faced by the Auditor General in obtaining the details on the accounts of Southers Limited. The approximate total loss of Southers as of 31st December 2021 is 15 billion rupees. The significance of preparing an appropriate model for the institution was highlighted. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news, the Sri Lanka Olympic Committee has launched a program to convert the wastelands in the reserved areas into forest again, in collaboration with the Ministry of Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation. A discussion was held in this regard yesterday with the initiation of Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi. The ministry agreed to allocate a land of 100 or 200 acres for reforestation. The saplings will also be provided by the ministry. Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi said that action should be taken to reforest the island so that the future generation will not face adverse effects of the environmental damage. The Ceylon Electricity Board, CEB, has announced the launch of the next phase of its e-billing system, which will come into effect from the 1st of July 2023. In a press release, the CEB said the customers residing in Dehiwala, Kelaniya and Sri Jawadhanapura areas would exclusively receive their electricity bills in a digital format, either through SMS or email. With the introduction of the e-billing system, the conventional practice of issuing printed paper bills will be discontinued. The CEB is encouraging its customers to promptly register for the e-billing system, as the issuance of printed paper bills will gradually be suspended in the coming month. Seeking the attention and cooperation of the public to ensure the successful implementation of the e-billing system, the CEB said this initiative is expected to save approximately 100 million sheets of paper annually. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
That he responsibly declares that there will be no impact on the people's deposits or interest income given during the local debt restructuring process. He also said that the EPF and ETF and the pension benefits too will not be affected. He disclosed that the deposit restructuring will include measures such as loan repayment postponement, interest reduction and payment period extension, etc. It was stressed that personal deposits and social security schemes such as EPF, ETF and pension benefits will not be touched. That ends main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the 30th of June has been declared a special holiday for all the Muslim schools of the island. This has been declared in celebration of Hajj festival, which falls on the 29th of June. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Putin says Wagner Group was entirely supported by Russia. Hajj returns to its maximum capacity for the first time after coronavirus pandemic. A new research warns deforestation is surging despite pledges. World news in detail. Vladimir Putin says the Wagner mercenary group was entirely financed by the Russian state, which spends 86 billion rubles on it from May 2022 to May this year. In a meeting with his security forces, Putin added that Prigozhin, who led the group's short-lived mutiny over the weekend, also made almost as much during the same period from his food and catering business. Russia's Wagner Group was played a key role in the fighting in Ukraine. Muslim pilgrims in Mecca circled the Kaaba, Islamic's holiest site, and then converged on a vast tent camp in the nearby desert, officially opening the annual Hajj pilgrimage, returning to its maximum capacity for the first time since the coronavirus pandemic. The Saudi Hajj minister says more than 1.8 million pilgrims from all over the world have already amassed in and around Mecca for the Hajj so far. The number is still growing as more pilgrims from inside Saudi Arabia joined the devotees. Authorities expect this year to approach pre-COVID levels of more than 2 million. An area of tropical forest the size of Switzerland was lost last year as tree losses surged, according to new research. It means that a political pledge to end deforestation made at COP26 by world leaders is well off track. Some 11 football pitches of forest were lost every minute in 2022, with Brazil dominating the destruction. However, sharp reduction in forest loss in Indonesia shows that reversing this trend is achievable. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Putin says Wagner Group was entirely supported by Russia. Hajj returns to its maximum capacity for the first time after coronavirus pandemic. A new research warns deforestation is surging despite pledges. That ends world news. Development News is brought to you by
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housemaids in Kuwait, Oman and Saudi Arabia for ages 23 to 58 years. Contact number 037 7500 500.
The Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka says that it is preparing to introduce a tea wine product challenging the traditional tea drinking. Talawakeli Tea Research Institute Chairman C.S. Lokuhetti said this yesterday while attending a press conference on Tea Research Celebration Day at the Government Information Department Auditorium. It has also been stated that the tea wine has an alcohol content of around 12%, so it may have more demand abroad. That ends Development News.
Vacancies for women from Deshakti Lanka for housekeepers, home cooks, caretakers and home nurses in Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and Singapore for ages 23 to 57 years. Salaries starting from 156,000 rupees. Interviews with foreign agents are now on. Come whether you have a passport or not. Branches, Colombo, Kurunagala, Anuradhapura and Matara. Contact number 037 7500 500.
Moving on to sports news, the Women's Tennis Association WTA has committed to securing equal prize money at events where both men and women feature by 2027. The governing body will increase the number of WTA 1,000 tournaments, the highest level of competition outside of the Grand Slams, to 10. 7 of the 10 events will be played over 2 weeks by 2025. The WTA says the move will ensure the consistent presence of the top athletes at these premium events. That ends sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
LOLC General Insurance has announced a strategic tie-up with the Stafford Motor Company, the sole agent for Honda vehicle in Sri Lanka. The two companies signed a memorandum of understanding recently to formalize their collaboration. Under the agreement, LOLC GI customers who have a full insurance cover for their Honda vehicles will be able to have collision repairs done at Stafford Motors without having to pay for brand new body parts. LOLC will pay the full amount without any deductions according to the agent's recommendations. This ensures customers get access to high quality and genuine body parts at no additional cost. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has urged all political parties and concerned stakeholders to act with responsibility and await the finalization of the proposed debt restructuring plan. In a statement published today, the Chamber stressed the importance of patience and trust in the domestic debt restructuring process. The primary focus of the process will be on maintaining financial system stability and ensuring that the depositors will not be adversely impacted. That ends economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers look at times in the western and sub-Ragama provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Gol and Matara districts. Several spells of showers will occur in the northwestern province. Showers or thundershowers may occur at a few places in the Ubud province and in Ampara and Batiklo districts during the evening or night. Fairly strong winds, about 40 to 45 km per hour, can be expected at times in western slopes of the Central Hills, North Central Province and in Putlam, Hambantota and Trincomalee districts. That ends with the report. To conclude the night news on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. A special gazette notification is issued convening the Parliament on next Saturday. The President states that the country aims to restructure $17 billion debt in 5 years. The COPE Committee instructs a cooperation plan to be prepared for Lanka Satusa Limited. The Sri Lanka Olympic Committee launches a reforestation program. Ceylon Electricity Board will launch a e-billing system from next month. Foreign news, Putin says Wagner Group was entirely supported by Russia. Sports news, tennis. The Women's Tennis Association commit to equal prize money at combined events by 2027. With that, we bring to an end the night news on Radio Sri Lanka.